Hello, my name is Katie Parker and I'm from the Thurman FFA chapter, and the topic that I chose to speak about was, what is one new technology that would help advance agriculture and what would it be? Well, this new technology that I would add would be an automated production facility. This would consist of tractor trailers being self-driving, and so would the pallets that would be on it. Farming is not always easy and takes a considerable amount of time and also challenges for the farmers. With a national shortage of truck drivers and transportation, food and supplies getting to their designated locations is very difficult. If there was this new technology that would allow for self-driving equipment, it would be a faster and more efficient process for these farmers. They would give them one less problem to worry about. Only 1.4% of truck drivers make up the agricultural deliveries. And sadly, during the COVID-19 pandemic, companies had to lay off their workers and they had to discard their product because they could not distribute it to their wholesalers or their consumers. If there was this self-driving trailer and self-driving pallets to load and unload these trucks, the products could be easily distributed into the system. 54% of food is lost through process of harvesting, storage, and transportation. But my ideal goal would be to cut this in half and to cut those losses through automation and robotics. Automation and robotics is already in use in some productions today. It has been found that less human interaction from farm to factory process would yield in higher production and less contamination and fewer incidents involving human interaction with equipment used in today's farming practices. For example, our FFA chapter this past year is doing seedlings and the inability of trucks to make timely deliveries. We plant and grow seedlings and then sell them to the general public and our community. Well, last year we grew tomato plants for a farmer, but sadly that never happened. This is one way that our students can get hands-on experience inside of a greenhouse. They are able to care for them, adjust the humidity in the greenhouse, and even water them. We also help maintain the best possible growth for these plants. And then the money that we make from these sales is put directly back into our chapter to help host events. Well, unfortunately, the delivery of most of our products did not make it because of the big cold front that came through and all the snow. Sadly, these trucks got stuck up north for 1 week and all other products on the truck died. It was a small loss for us, but in the scheme of things, for farmers, it would be very devastating for him to lose all of his products and food. Well, it would have also affect his ability for next year's crops. With no income, no seed, no fertilizer, and no new farm equipment, he would have to borrow next year's crop in hopes of better things. Not only this affects the farmer, but also the suppliers, packers, product facilities, and consumers. The inability to produce and transport products among the world not only impacts the global economy, but also nations undergoing famine. Imagine a production facility where the farmer's product is packaged and placed on pallets, and it would drive itself onto these self-driving 18-wheelers where it would be scanned for its destination, and it would also be loaded and stacked accordingly. Pallets could be programmed to take weight measurements, and it could also be adapted with sensors and be able to take humidity. And once these pallets are loaded and stacked, it would self-drive itself onto the tractor trailer, where there would also be sensors on the tractor trailer to detect temperature, humidity, and also the weight again. It would be able to take these readings for products to help make them as fresh as possible. The head of the tractor trailer would detect weight measurements, so that way it would always fall between DOT guidelines. The tractor trailer would be guided by GPS and satellite to their designated locations. Well, if there was a problem along the road and something were to happen, a new tractor trailer would be notified and it would be sent to it, and it would be able to unload it and load it back to this new trailer and be shipped immediately to cut time in half. If there was also a natural disaster or something, they would also be rerouted a different way instead of having to go through those natural disasters. With the self-driving equipment, production facilities could work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, while self-driving 18-wheelers would also have safer roads. With less truck drivers driving, we would also not have to worry about driver fatigue. They can continue to drive without stopping for recommended DOT rest stops with the self-loading pallets. you do not have to worry about food contamination or human carelessness and less exposure to illnesses. You also would not have to worry about overloading the weight capacity and injuring employees and employees not showing up for work. For weather conditions and other events like a pandemic would not stop operations, which would be amazing. Farmers would also be able to get their products to the market without very few interruptions. With less people, there would also be better working conditions. The product facilities would have less people, and they would also be able to pay higher wages for fewer employees while saving money, which is always the best. With the new equipment and speed increases, it would allow for companies to grow at a faster rate. The consumer would get a better quality product and a better and longer shelf life. I do not think that consumers appreciate the amount of energy and time it takes for the manpower and the energy for the supplies to go from crops to the storage facilities to production and then onto our shelves. Automation of the transportation system would allow for many of the food insecurities in our world today.